Welcome in, guys. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hope all is well. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving weekend and a happy NFL Week 13 weekend. So, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about, a lot of good games, some particular games that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott getting a big win over Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. We're going to take a look at the game between the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow versus Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And we're also going to talk about the matchup between Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers versus Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So we got a lot of good games to go over. We got a lot of good players to talk about and some other things that stood out from this NFL Week 13 Thanksgiving weekend edition. Before we jump into any of that, I would like to mention that on my YouTube channel, I create content about money, sports, and personal topics with the goal of bringing value to other people's lives. So if you guys find value in this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. All right, let's go ahead and jump into NFL Week 13. All right, guys. So things kicked off on Thursday for Thanksgiving. We had three different games. And the first one was the matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. So this was a big matchup in the NFC North division. Jordan Love of the Packers versus Jared Goff of the Lions. So a very good game to start off NFL Week 13 Thanksgiving weekend edition. But in this one, Jordan Love and the Packers, they get the win 31-24. They improved to 8-3-1 on the season, and the Lions dropped to 7-5. So let's check out some of the game leaders in this one. All right, so for the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, he went 18 for 30, 234 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So excellent game by Jordan Love. That's really as good as it gets. Um, he's kind of had an up and down season so far, but in this game, we got the good version of Jordan Love or the excellent version. So great job by Love in this one. Josh Jacobs had 83 yards rushing, and their wide receiver Wicks had 94 yards receiving with 2 touchdowns. Let's jump over to the Lions. Jared Goff, 20 for 26, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So his completion percentage was 77%, which is really good. So a really good game by Jared Goff as well. Jahmyr Gibbs, 68 yards rushing, and Williams had 144 yards receiving with a touchdown. So this was a pretty good offensive game by both teams and by both quarterbacks. They played well. Um, Again, this was a big matchup in the NFC North Division. Um, a lot of good teams in this one: Packers, Lions, and Bears. They're all battling to win the division. Um, Two very good head coaches in this one, with Matt LaFleur going against Dan Campbell, two very good quarterbacks. So this was a great way to kick off the NFL weekend. And Jordan Love, like I said, he's been up and down this season, but We got the really, really good version of Jordan Love in this one, and they played really well. So the Lions, they started off well earlier in the season, but they've now dropped to 7-5. So they're kind of running to a risk of not making the playoffs, but we still have a month of regular season football to go. So we'll see what happens with the Lions. All right. So one of the most exciting games from the weekend was definitely the matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys. So this was Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs versus Dak Prescott of the Cowboys. So very, very interesting matchup. Um, this was in Arlington and Dallas, Texas. So home game for the Cowboys in their indoor facility. So this was definitely a must-watch game, and we had an upset in this one. The Cowboys get the win, 31-28 over the Chiefs. Um, Both of these teams have been up and down this season. The Chiefs now they're 6-6. The Cowboys improved to 6-5-1. So both of these teams have been very up and down this whole season. Um, the Cowboys have had a lot of struggles on defense, but their offense is really good. And the Chiefs, they just haven't been the same old Chiefs. So very interesting matchup in this one, but a big win for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Let's check out the game leaders in this one. For the Chiefs, Mahomes, 23 for 34, 261 yards, four touchdowns, zero interceptions. So a really good game by Mahomes. This is what we're used to from him. So he's kind of had a little bit of a disappointing season, but this specific game, he was really good. Kareem Hunt, 58 yards rushing. Rasheed Rice, 92 yards receiving with two touchdowns. On the Cowboys side, Dak Prescott, 27 for 39, 320 yards, two touchdowns, one interception. So a really good game by Prescott. Their running back Williams had 59 yards rushing, and CeeDee Lamb had 112 yards receiving with a touchdown. All right. So this was the second game of Thanksgiving Day, and it was probably the most exciting one. Um, Big game for both teams. The Chiefs are on the brink of getting eliminated from playoff contention, so they really needed this win. And same story for the Cowboys. They're both on the edge as far as making the playoffs. But the Cowboys, they're 6-5-1, so they almost have the same records. So I think both of these teams, for them to make the playoffs, realistically, they have to win out the rest of their games. They could maybe afford one loss, but nothing more than that. So we'll see if Mahomes and the Chiefs, if they can stack up 5 wins in a row or maybe 4-1, and same thing for the Cowboys and get in the playoffs. So as far as the Cowboys, one of the best offenses in the NFL. Dak Prescott is just throwing the ball all over the field. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens are playing really well at the wide receiver position. Their defense has gotten better since they got Quinnen Williams and some other defensive pieces. So look out for the Cowboys going forward. For the Chiefs, honestly, I would be shocked if they don't make the playoffs. I expect them to go on a run here and find a way to get in the playoffs. The playoffs would just not be the same without Patrick Mahomes. So the final game of Thanksgiving Day was also a big matchup. We had the Cincinnati Bengals go against the Baltimore Ravens. So this is a AFC North matchup. Joe Burrow, who's back from his injury, going against Lamar Jackson. So two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Two very different styles at quarterback. So this was definitely must-watch TV. And in this one, the Ravens continue to struggle, and the Bengals get a big win, 32-14. They improve to 4-8 on the season, while the Ravens fall to 6-6. And even with a record of 4-8, the Bengals still have a chance to make the playoffs just because the AFC North division is very bad this season with the Ravens, Steelers, and Browns. So we'll see if the Bengals can somehow make the playoffs. But let's go ahead and check out the game leaders in this one. All right, for the Bengals, Joe Burrow, 24 for 46, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Running back Chase Brown, 78 yards rushing, and Jamar Chase had 110 yards receiving. So, pretty good offensive game on all three levels: quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. For the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, 17 for 32, 246 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. So Lamar Jackson hasn't been the same ever since he came back from his injury a few weeks back. He just doesn't have that explosiveness in him, that fire. Not sure if it is the injury, but it just doesn't look the same. Derrick Henry, 60 yards rushing with a touchdown, and Isaiah Likely, 95 yards receiving. All right. So the four teams in the AFC North are the Browns, Steelers, Bengals, and Ravens. And honestly, they're all having like really bad season this year. Um, the only team that really doesn't have a chance to make the playoffs in the division is the Browns. But the Bengals, Ravens, and Steelers, they're all in the mix to win the division, make the playoffs. So very interesting to watch what happens there. So just specifically in this game, I enjoyed watching it just because Joe Burrow was back. He was playing really well, and he was throwing the ball all over the field. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. So the Bengals offense was firing on all cylinders, and they look like the old Bengals. For the Ravens, I mentioned Lamar Jackson continues to struggle. Derrick Henry, he's not having as much success this season as he had last year, and the Ravens are not utilizing him enough, in my opinion. Um, so we'll see what happens. Their head coach might be on the hot seat after the season, just because they really haven't won any significant games in his tenure. They got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and they're not really performing up to par. So a lot of intrigue in this game. So we'll see what happens with these two teams going forward. So the next game that we're gonna talk about is the Black Friday game that was played between the Chicago Bears and the Philadelphia Eagles. So this was Caleb Williams of the Bears versus Jalen Hurts of the Eagles. So a very interesting matchup between these two teams. I don't think they play each other a lot, so it was definitely very interesting to watch. Caleb Williams, young quarterback who's improving and growing, versus Jalen Hurts, the Super Bowl winning quarterback. So I was definitely very interested in this game. And we had an upset in this one. The defending Super Bowl champs lose 24-15 to the Chicago Bears. The Bears improved to 9-3 on the season. They have one of the best records in the NFC. The Eagles fall to 8-4, and they continue to struggle on offense. So let's check out the game leaders in this one. Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams, 17 for 36, 154 yards, one touchdown, one interception. Their running back, Monangai, had a good game, 130 yards rushing with a touchdown. And tight end Cole Kmet had 36 yards receiving with a touchdown. So as far as Caleb, the completion percentage is low. It's less than 50%, only 150 yards. But he made some big plays, and he used his legs a lot of different times. So it was still, I think, a successful game by him. They got the win, so that's the most important part. For the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, 19 for 34, 230 yards, two touchdowns, one interception. So a good game by Hurts in this one. Saquon Barkley continues to struggle this season, only 56 yards rushing. So this season compared to last season is a big disappointment for Barkley. He's dropped off, or his production has dropped off significantly. Not sure if it's him or it's his offensive line. Probably a combination of the two, but disappointing season for him this year. AJ Brown had a really good game, 10 receptions, 132 yards, two touchdowns. So AJ Brown has complained a lot about not being utilized enough, but in this game, he was definitely utilized a lot and had a lot of receptions and yards. So I'm sure he's happy with the performance. But nonetheless, the Eagles lose. So I think the Bears are, if not the biggest, one of the biggest positive surprises of the season so far. Um, a lot of struggles in preseason and to start the season. A lot of noise around Caleb Williams. Is he accurate? Is he a franchise quarterback? How is he going to work with Ben Johnson, the head coach? Can Caleb Williams play within Ben Johnson's system? Or maybe they're just not a good match. But here we are, 13 weeks into the season. The Bears are 9-3, have one of the best records in the NFL, and things are looking good for them going forward. On the other side, the Eagles, their offensive struggles continue. Jalen Hurts had a good game in this one, and AJ Brown did as well. But 15 points is just not enough. Saquon Barkley continues to struggle. So not sure. I'm not sure if the Eagles are just kind of cruising during the regular season, and once the playoffs start, they're going to kick it into gear. But their offense does not look very good at this point. But they're still the defending Super Bowl champs, and I'm definitely not going to count them out. So the next game that I want to talk about a little bit is the matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Cleveland Browns. So this was Brock Purdy going against Shador Sanders. So I was interested in watching this game. Just wanted to watch Shador Sanders in his second full NFL start. He played pretty well in his first one last week. So just wanted to see what he would look like this week, um, and see if, you know, his game is improving. But it was a bad game for him and the Browns. They lose 26-8. The 49ers improved to 9-4, and the Browns fall to 3-9. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. 49ers, Brock Purdy, 16 for 29, 168 yards, one touchdown, zero interceptions. So a typical Brock Purdy game, just kind of a game manager, in my opinion. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but also doesn't do anything too amazing. So he gets the job done, gets a win for his team. That's all that matters. Christian McCaffrey, 53 yards rushing with a touchdown. George Kittle, 67 yards receiving. All right, let's check out the Cleveland Browns and Shador Sanders. Shador Sanders went 16 for 25, 149 yards, one touchdown, zero interceptions. So an okay game by Shador Sanders. He didn't have an interception in this one, but his yardage was a bit low. So just kind of an okay game by Shador. Um, just like all the other Browns quarterbacks this year. Um, he definitely has his struggles, and the Cleveland Browns are searching for a quarterback for a long-term solution at the quarterback position. So they're going to give Shador Sanders these last several weeks of the regular season to see how he plays and if he improves. So that's why I like watching the Browns. And I think that's good enough as far as game leaders. So this wasn't the most exciting game of the weekend for sure, but again, Brock Purdy versus Shador Sanders. Brock Purdy, not a very exciting quarterback, just kind of a game manager, but he's got the 49ers at 9-4. Looks like they're headed towards the playoffs again. And their offensive weapons, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, are playing well. They have a good defense with Robert Saleh. So the 49ers are definitely in the mix and dangerous. And for the Browns, we'll watch them the rest of the season, even though they're not going anywhere. We'll watch them to see if Shador Sanders improves, if he has some exciting games. So we'll keep an eye out on the Browns and Shador Sanders. The next game we're going to talk about is the matchup between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans. So this was a matchup between Trevor Lawrence of the Jags going against the number one overall pick this season in Cam Ward. So just kind of an interesting quarterback matchup in this one. And the Jags get a big blowout win, 25-3. They improved to 8-4 on the season. And the Titans have the worst record in the NFL at 1-11. So the Jags, they definitely have a very good chance of making the playoffs with all their ups and downs this season, and with the ups and downs of Trevor Lawrence and his turnovers. And the Titans, they might be picking number one overall in the next draft as well. So let's check out the game leaders in this one. For the Jags, Trevor Lawrence, 16 for 27, 229 yards, two touchdowns, zero interceptions. And their wide receiver Myers had 90 yards receiving with one touchdown. Let's check out the Titans and see how Cam Ward played. So he went 24 for 38, 141 yards, zero touchdowns, zero interceptions. So Cam Ward, honestly, he hasn't shown any kind of like pop this season, or like these later weeks where you can see like improvement in his play or something that's like very exciting or encouraging. He just kind of been flat the whole season, not very impressive. So not sure if he's going to get a nice bounce next season at his that his play might improve, but not a impressive rookie season by the number one overall pick so far. All right. So, what else can we say about these two teams? So, the Jags, I definitely like the Jags. They're one of my favorite teams. I like Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, the running back. Um, But every season, the Jags are very up and down. One game, they look like they might be going to the Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence is on fire. Travis Etienne is on fire. But then other games, Trevor Lawrence will have 2 to 3 turnovers. They can't run the ball. Their defense doesn't play well. So it's just kind of very hit and miss with the Jags. But they're sitting at 8-4. They're on their way to the playoffs if they continue to play well enough. And Trevor Lawrence in the playoffs is something that I would definitely want to see. The Titans' worst record in the NFL, Cam Ward, rookie number one overall pick quarterback. Not a impressive rookie season at all by him. Not sure if he's going to be the long-term solution at the quarterback position, but still too early in his career. We'll see what happens going forward for them and if he does improve significantly. All right, guys. So, the most painful and frustrating game to watch this weekend was definitely the game between the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, initially, I was very excited about this game. You had Josh Allen going against Aaron Rodgers, two good teams in the AFC, very exciting quarterback matchup. Um, So, and a lot of both of these teams have a lot on the line. The Bills, they're still trying to win their division and catch up to the Patriots. The Steelers are trying to get ahead of the Ravens and win their division. So, very, very important game for both teams. A lot of excitement. Um, I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan, so I'm rooting for the Steelers. So, I had big hopes in this game, but like a lot of times this season, the Steelers disappointed once again. Their offense was horrible, 7 points. They couldn't get anything going. Their defense was horrible. They couldn't stop the run. So just very, very disappointed as a Aaron Rodgers and thus a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But let's go ahead and check out the game leaders in this one. Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, 15 for 23, 123 yards, one touchdown, one interception. So just kind of an okay, solid game by Josh Allen. Nothing too bad, nothing too amazing. Their running back, though, James Cook, had a huge game, 32 carries, 144 yards. So he was running all over the Steelers' defense. And he also had 33 yards receiving. Let's check out the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers, 10 for 21, 117 yards, zero touchdowns, zero interceptions. That's just not going to get it done. That's under 50% completion percentage, barely above 100 yards passing, no touchdowns. So, and he did have a turnover where he got sacked and fumbled the ball. So, just horrible game overall for everybody. Their running back, Warren, only had 35 yards. Their wide receivers didn't contribute at all. Their tight end, Darnell Washington, had 45 yards receiving. So just a horrible game if you're a Steelers fan. So what else can we say about these two teams? So Buffalo Bills, 8-4 on the season, one of the best teams in the AFC. I mean, they have their struggles throughout the season, like pretty much all the other teams. Josh Allen, has a down game every once in a while, um, but they get a big win here, and I don't think they're going to catch the Patriots in their division, but they should be headed to the playoffs in about a month. Some more on the Steelers. Yeah, I mean, it's honestly it's painful to watch them and like root for them, just because they play well enough certain games and win where they get you excited um, about the season, that they might make the playoffs, make some noise in the playoffs. But then they have these just horrible games and stretches where their offense doesn't do anything. Like they don't even have enough weapons. Their wide receivers are not good enough. Yeah, they have DK Metcalf, but he's not the same like he was with the Seahawks. They also traded away George Pickens earlier this season, and they definitely needed a second wide receiver. So that was a horrible decision. I like their big tight end, Darnell Washington. He's huge and fun to watch, especially when he breaks tackles. He looks like an offensive lineman out there that catches the ball and then just runs over people. Kenneth Gainwell, their you know running back, is pretty good as well, but they just don't have enough on the offense. And Aaron Rodgers, even though he's still got game, he just, I don't know, his body language is not good, and he just has a lot of struggles in these crucial games. So we'll see what happens with the Steelers. They're still 6-6. They're tied with the Ravens at 6-6. So all the teams in their division are playing bad. So that's the only reason that the Steelers still have a chance to win their division and make the playoffs is because their division is so bad. So it's either going to be the Steelers or Ravens probably winning the division. 5 weeks to go. These two teams, the Ravens and Steelers, play each other twice. So those two games are going to be the deciding factors of who's going to win this division. I don't think the Bengals can catch up, but we'll see. So those two crucial games between the Steelers and Ravens that are left in the regular season are going to be crucial. I'm hoping Rodgers and the Steelers can get it done and squeeze into the playoffs, but some of these games are just painful to watch. And hopefully, when we look back, that this was their worst game of the season and that it only gets better from here. Also, their head coach, Mike Tomlin, is kind of on the hot seat. Um, they haven't been, or they haven't won a playoff game in 10 years, even though they've had a winning record for, I think, over 20 years. You can look at that as a positive, but the last 10 years, even with a winning record and making the playoffs, they haven't won a single playoff game these last 10 years. So, not sure if they're going to have Mike Tomlin back next season, but let's be positive and hopeful, and hopefully the Steelers finish up the regular season well and squeeze into the playoffs. The last game we're going to talk about is the Monday Night Football matchup tonight between the New York Giants and the New England Patriots. So, this is going to be a matchup between, uh, not sure if it's Jackson Dart or Jameis Winston for the Giants going against Drake May and the Patriots. So, two teams with two very different seasons. Giants, one of the worst teams in the NFL at 2-10. They're looking for their future quarterback. On the other hand, the New England Patriots, one of the best records in the NFL, if not the best, at 10-2. They found their franchise quarterback in Drake May. So these two teams are headed in very different directions this season. And here on the win probability chart, Patriots 76%, Giants 24. So that definitely makes sense. I don't expect the Giants to upset the Patriots in this one. So should be a smooth win for Drake May and the Patriots in this one. Um, but we'll see what happens. Um, the Patriots are headed towards the playoffs. Looks like the good old Patriots are back. I think they had Tom Brady and Bill Belichick for all those years. I think Mike Vrabel and Drake May are the new Belichick and Brady. So the future looks very bright for the Patriots. And we'll see if they get a win tonight in Foxborough. All right, guys, before we wrap things up for today, let's go ahead and check out the NFL standings after week 13. So we're going to start with the AFC East. Patriots 10-2. They play tonight. They should be 11-2 after that. They're going to win this division most likely. The Bills are second, and they should also squeeze into the playoffs. AFC North, a lot of competition in this one. Ravens and Steelers both 6-6. The Bengals, they have Joe Burrow back. They're 4-8. They still have a chance. So I still think the Ravens are going to win this division. I think Lamar Jackson is going to start to play better. And again, I expect the Ravens to win the division. I'm hoping the Steelers squeeze into the playoffs, but from what I've seen, it's not looking good. And I don't think the Bengals have a chance of getting into the playoffs. AFC South, Jags 8-4, Colts are 8-4. So the Jags have a 3-game winning streak. The Colts have a 2-game losing streak. So as a result of that, the Jags have taken over the first place in the division and caught up to the Colts. But I think both of those teams have a good chance of making the playoffs. The Texans are right behind them as well. So CJ Stroud is back. He played well in his last game. So tough to decide. AFC South, AFC West, Broncos 10-2, really impressive this season. Chargers 8-4, having a good season. The Chiefs at 6-6, in danger of missing the playoffs. They have to run the table the rest of the season. We'll see if they can do it. So very interesting division there as well. On the NFC side, Eagles 8-4, but the Cowboys 6-5-1. They've won 3 games in a row, so they're getting closer to the Eagles. So we'll see if the Cowboys squeeze into the playoffs. NFC North, a lot of competition in this one as well. Bears, really impressive season, 9-3. Packers 8-3. Those two teams should be in the playoffs. Detroit Lions, serious chance of them missing the playoffs, which would be very disappointing. So we'll see what happens there. NFC South, the Bucks 7-5. Carolina Panthers having a surprisingly good season at 7-6. So this division is still undetermined. We'll see if the Bucks can hold off the Panthers. And I'm hoping that my hometown team, the Tampa Bay Bucks, can do so. But they're going to have to play a lot better, and Panthers are right there. NFC West, Rams, they're 9-3. They just had a bad loss to the Panthers. So that was definitely a big upset and surprising. The Seahawks are having a really good season. They're 9-3. 49ers 9-4. So all three of these teams have a good chance of making the playoffs. So it's going to be a very interesting month, the month of December in the NFL. It's going to determine a lot. It's going to determine the playoff picture. It's going to determine jobs. So very exciting month of football in December, and we'll see what happens. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to cover for NFL Week 13. I hope you guys enjoyed the content and got some value out of this video. If you did, again, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.